Hi, I'm Sean. This is my Monaro V8. I was 12-year-old when I first saw this car, and it was sliding around Top Gear test track, and everyone wants a car like that. A proper muscle car.
And so this is the what was the Holden.
Yeah.
Vauxhall imported them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this one's pretty early on, isn't it? It's
yeah, so it's a 2001 VXR, so 2004 VXR LS1. So the VXR started in 2006 as an LS2 6 litre. Before that they made 50 or 60 LS1 VXRs tuned to just shy of 400 horse. And that's what this is. This is build number 5, so it's, other than a lad I know restoring one, this is the earliest one that people know of. And the LS1's regarded as the best LS because of the cable throttle and just other bits and bobs. There's a few nice facts about an LS1 engine. I did originally want an LS2 with big nostrils on bonnet, but I picked this up at such a good price, and with it being such a rare model, I couldn't really say no.
Tell me about the specs of the car. So it's an LS1, about 400 odd brake.
So it's an LS1 5.7 V8. It has LSD in back. These wheels are bespoke to this car, to the LS1 VXR. So is the interior, rear bumper and exhaust. I think standard power is 386. This had a few things done. So this should be around 400, 410. Chassis is basically a Vauxhall Amiga, Vauxhall Carlton, Senator. And it's kind of a supersessor to Lotus Carlton, as a lot of people say. Very basic agricultural V8. Good fun, easy to maintain, and noisy.
What was the thought process when were you looking for one of these, or did it sort of you spot it?
I've always wanted one, always. It's an absolute dream car. But obviously finances don't allow when you're at such a young age, and insurance, things like that. And it's basically a modern Lotus Carlton, which is my dream car. And then when you start having kids and things, you realise you're not going to get a chance to buy a dream car again. So I thought, I've had a kid, I'll buy a 3-door coupe, but I can't fit a kid in that's really thirsty and expensive to run, as you do. But I'm glad I did. It's the best decision I made. Yeah. And I do have a kid in, but I have baby seat it back, and kid does actually fit in, and it's good. It's good fun. Yeah.
What's it like to live with one of these?
It's thirsty. It's thirsty, and when you start work at 2, 3 a.m, it's noisy. So you have to kind of roll down the street, push it, roll and jump in and start it as it's rolling. In my previous job driving through town, it was doing 13 to a gallon on a good day. Now I've got a long commute, it's doing 19 on a run. Not motorway, you can see 25 to a gallon. Insurance is fine. I had a diesel BMW that were a lot more to insure. Insurance is nice and cheap. Replacement parts are really hard for the actual car itself, for the body. All the door handles are Vauxhall Amiga, and the courtesy lights on the door are Vauxhall Vectra. So things like that are quite easy, generic GM stuff. The easy parts are the engine parts to get, because obviously everything's LS engine parts, so it's all stateside or Aussie land, things like that. But body wise, you can't find anything, nothing. Bumpers are thousands of pounds, bonnets are thousands of pounds. So you just got to drive it nice and careful, especially in slippy conditions like this.
It looks beautiful. What's the reaction from the public?
You get a lot of people talking to you. Everyone calls it a Commodore, because a lot of people, when they've been to Australia or on holiday or whatever else, they get a Commodore, and it does look similar. I mean, the shape's similar, but obviously it's a 3-door coupe version of the Commodore. It's a really positive reaction. I've never had anyone dislike it so far. It's a very charismatic, old school kind of car, so it's not a flash, obnoxious kind of car, but it is a car that people can appreciate, I think.
And to drive, what's the experience like?
Oh, yeah, I enjoy it. It's comfy. It's a GT. Despite what Top Gear portray, it's not always a hooligan. It's a really comfortable GT car. It's really, really comfortable GT car. The guy that had it before me, well, the original owner, the first owner, he was a company rep, and he says the longest he ever did was 900 miles in a day. It must have cost a lot of money in fuel, but he said he got out feeling refreshed, absolutely fine. It's a really comfy car. And I bought it to do things like Nürburg, NC 500, nice long runs, and I intend to drive it as much as I can.
Is it manual?
Manual, yeah, 6 speed.
6 speed.
6 speed, yeah. It's T56. So that's used in a lot of Chevy applications. The actual T56 gearbox casing came from Dodge Viper, the first incarnation, I think. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's what the first incarnation was. So it's a very old gearbox. It's agricultural. It's like cocking a bolt action rifle trying to get it in gear. It's very mechanical, but it's a positive feel.
Advice to someone who might be looking for something like this?
The very biggest thing on these is rot, the biggest killer. Running them low on oil, doing track days, you get a lot of oil starvation, and then that's gone, engine's gone. Mechanically wise, just your usual rear wheel drive stuff, you know, your donuts, prop, things like that. When I first got this, I had to replace the centre bearing, but again, they're inexpensive, at £40, plus shipping from stateside. The rear diff, make sure the rear diff's working fine. Gearbox is fine, because the gearbox failed on us at 14,000 miles or £5,500 to replace back then, because that were under warranty. But I don't think they're prone to failure. I think it was just an early problem with this car. The biggest thing is rot, by a long shot. It's obviously only a Vauxhall chassis. Being an Australian car, they don't get undersealed. So on this car, this actual car, I got really cheap because the chassis legs are rotten under the battery. But it's not ended up well. It can be repaired because the panels are available. Things people can make the chassis legs for these cars, and the chassis rail sections are available as well. Other than that, there's not really much that goes wrong with them. They're a very basic agricultural car. I mean, it's a pushrod V8. There's nothing to go wrong on them. That's really it. The brake calipers are known for seizing. I had to rebuild these, which were, again, it was 200 quid. It's not going to break the bank, and I should get another 10 years out of them, hopefully.
You mentioned that this is an early version, and it was like pre-VXR.
Yes, so the LS1 is obviously what's found in the CV8, which is the 330 horse, softer, touring kind of version of the Monaro, and then everyone knows about that, and they know about the 6 litre VXR. I didn't even know these existed. So the LS1 VXR is basically a CV8 engine tuned up to nearly what the VXR is meant to be, with firm suspension, nicer seats, things like that. Just all spec'd up to what VXR should be, except from the fluted bonnet, which I've kind of grown to love. I did want the fluted bonnet, but they're only aesthetics, they're not real anyway. So that don't really make any difference. But the LS1 for me is the better engine, just because it's not got electric throttle or anything like that to go wrong.
What are the plans for the car going forward?
So this car's booked in. I've got a guy that used to make chassis for a place called Magnum Motorsport. So he's going to take the front end of this car and chop it all off. Obviously drop the subframe, drop the engine out, take all the front of the chassis off. It is still on road obviously, but it won't pass another MOT after this year. So the front end of the car's getting cut off. He's making some new chassis legs. The car's going to be fully sandblasted underneath, took back to bare metal, fully undersealed once the new legs are on. And then after that, I'm going to have an LS7 clutch or more uprated clutch, and then stick a Pro Charger on and aim for 600-700 horse or whatever. Sky's your limit with these engines, really.
This is a celebration of Chevy V8s that aren't in Chevys, but they're still in GM cars. Yeah. But this isn't your only one, is it?
No, I've got a 400 cubic, so 6.6 Chevy V8, which is going in my 72 Firenze. The build page is Foley the Forgotten Firenze, if anyone wants to follow that. But that's going to be, you can get them to around 485 horse and around 510 foot-pounds of torque, just with a cam, carb, a few basic bits of tuning, or you can again supercharge them and go huge power. That fate's not decided yet. The car's been stood 39 years, so it's obviously rotten. So I'll get bodyweight done, strengthened, widened, and then it's got a Jag E-type axle with an LSD, and then slot this nice big Chevy V8 in and see how we get on from there.
And what are your plans with that?
Win some shows, take it out quarter mile, enjoy it in nice weather, just everything. It's going to be a very expensive, long drawn out project. It's probably going to be 3 to 5 years until everything's ready. I'm still debating whether to go for a manual gearbox 4-speed on the floor sort of thing, as they call it in Yankee land, or whether to go for the 350th, 400th auto. I really can't decide yet. But the plans for it are to run obviously large power, nice lightweight, LSD, it's an E-type rear axle, chrome it all up like it were in the 70s. And the guy who actually built the car in 75 is still around, and I reunited him with the car once it was found. So obviously plans are to keep him involved.
So what's the history with the car? Was it a drag car or something?
No, it was originally a 2.3 Frenzer SL 2300 Sport, which was the very top Viva, yeah, basically a Viva coupe, very top spec. The interior were all done by his mum back in the day. He were in his 20s and he wanted to build. He was a hot rod builder back in 70s, 60s, 70s, and he'd always had minis and things. He wanted a rear wheel drive to put a Jag IRS on, so he found this Frenzer, which I've not asked him, but I think it was crash damaged, because when I sandblasted it, there were a lot of gobbo and a lot of metal missing. So I think it was crash damage, because the car at the time, he built it in 75, so it'll only been 3 years old. So to cut the chassis and make a frame and put an IRS axle on was a very bold move at that age. So obviously, the Frenzer at that age, it won all the shows in the 70s. It's featured in Tesla. Well, it is the video Tesla Girls by OMD on YouTube in 1982. The car disappeared in 1979 with 6,000 miles on clock after it left his possession. A family bought it and they emigrated to Australia and left it just in this garage. The music video for Tesla Girls was 81, 82. No one knows why the car ended up in there.
I'm old enough to remember that.
Yeah, I'm not. This is research. The car featured in a few things like that. It did a few burlesque girl photo shoots and things back in the day, and it's got a lot of trophies to go with it. So the idea was to restore it back to what it were, and then I've decided to go down my own route a little bit. I'm doing a homage to the original car and keeping Brian, the guy who built it, Brian, and all his family are in the loop and following the build progress. And the ideas have come from basically Brian, what he would have done with it if money were no object. So it's got the slot mags on the rear, around, I think they're 12 inches wide on the rear, 12, 13, 14 inches wide, I can't remember, they're huge, they come off a Chevy Bel Air. Rear axle it's not been shortened, so in the 70s a lot of people used to shorten the Jag axles.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, what we've done is we've widened the body massively, not with wheel arches, but the actual old metalwork of the car. We got a Viva Estate chopped up and used the Viva Estate rear quarters, so there's plenty of metal to flare. The back arch was really, really wide and tubbed out the whole body. So then these massive wheels can fit underneath the body and obviously still be legal and safe. The car's going to have a roll cage and everything else, so I can take my young one in it and feel a bit safer. Brakes will be Renault 21 Brembo brakes, obviously all adapted to fit. And then obviously the cherry on the top is the Chevy V8.
Right, question. Am I going to be invited back when you get a reunion with the original owner and the family, and we get all of you together?
A few show organisers are trying to organise it so it all happens and gets revealed at the same place. So yeah, it'll be a public event, so everyone will be invited.
Brilliant, because we'll have to come and cover that.
Yeah, of course, yeah, that's fine.
And in the meantime, you've got a brilliant car here in the meantime. So so thank you very much for letting us come.
No worries.
And I'll get some shots.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.